Good evening, everyone. This is the meeting of the Police Accountability Board for Prince George's County. Today's date is May 10th, 2023, and the time is 6:38. We'll be calling the meeting to order. I'll go around and take a roll. Everybody can say present when I call your name, please. Calvin Duvall, present. Sheila Bryant.
Present.
Dr. Andrea Cole. Oh, okay, thank you. Dr. Coleman.
Present.
Mr. James.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Daniel Jones.
He's here.
Oh, he's in?
Yes. Who?
Jones is here. Mr. Jones, you here, sir?
Yes, sir.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
We did, Mr. Chair, ask if they were members to put their cameras on, so Ms. Bryant needs to.
Okay, yes. Can we, if you are a member of the Police Accountability Board, can you turn your cameras on, please? Thank you. Mr. Melton?
Here, present.
Thank you, sir. Mr. O'Neill?
Here.
Mrs. Ridley?
Here.
Vice Chair Sanchez?
Here.
Mrs. Springs? Daniel Vergamini? He said that he would be absent. Right. Okay, cool. Thank you. Hopefully everybody has the agenda, the revised agenda that Denise sent out. Moving next, we will go to the minutes, and hopefully everyone has had an opportunity to review the minutes. So at this time, is there a motion to approve the minutes from, what's the date?
April 12th, I believe.
All right.
Lafayette Melton makes a motion to approve the minutes.
Lafayette Melton made a motion to approve the minutes. Are there anyone second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Yes.
Abstain.
Oh, any abstain? Okay, thank you. Next, we're moving into old business, strategic planning session, session 4.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the last meeting, we completed Goal 1. We asked everybody to take home the consolidated strategic plan outline, and we would forge ahead. Session 4. And so we will begin, if it's your pleasure, at Goal 2. And Goal 2 is improve responsiveness to public complaints of misconduct. The goals, I'll remind you, were previously approved by the board. So the areas that we are now seeking votes on is objectives and milestones. So objective 1, implement process for timely transmission of complaints from PAB to law enforcement agencies and ACC to PAB. I think, but for the risk of Mr. Chair, since we're into, if we could get a motion to accept that as objective 1.
Okay, what was it again?
Objective 1, implement process for timely transmission of complaints from PAB to law enforcement agencies and ACC to PAB.
That's a lot, but okay, we'll go with that. Is there a motion to approve, objective 1? Attorney Camp, just reference.
This is Sheila Bryant. I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Bryant. Second.
I'll second the motion. Lafayette Melton.
Thank you, sir. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Any? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say any abstain? Okay. You're
Okay,
welcome.
we'll move under objective 1 to the milestones. The first one is to forward complaints of police misconduct to the appropriate law enforcement agency within 3 business days of receipt by PAB. This milestone is based on the legislative requirement. The next one is receive complaints from ACC within 10 days of completion of investigation by law enforcement agency and the ACC. Number 3, track the number of days taken by law enforcement to conduct and complete investigations into allegations. The question here was how often was just, I wanted to get from whomever made that as a recommendation. Is there a time frame for which y'all want to do the tracking? Is that quarterly tracking? Is that monthly tracking? Just wanted to know what the time frame for, so staff would know what the expectation was.
I did not submit that one. Maybe the person is not here.
So do we want, so in the absence of any comments, do you want to do it like we are required at least quarterly? So are you okay on the quarterly, or maybe I should ask staff what's going to be easiest for y'all in terms of tracking and reporting? So
Could you restate it?
Track the number of days taken by law enforcement to conduct and complete investigations into allegations. And really, so it should have been not just how often, but how do you want to do it? Are y'all going to do a survey? I mean, I don't know exactly what this was.
Well, when the completed investigation comes to us and has a complaint in,
Okay.
and we have a temporary database that I'm working from now, and I can, look at the date that we got it versus the date that the complaint was done, and report from that.
Okay, so staff would be able to do that.
Yes.
Just look at date and then, so I don't know if it's to conduct and complete, it's just really to complete, right, the investigation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just want to make, when you go back and look to make sure it's, okay, and that'll be a staff function. Okay. And then, Denise, for reporting that, would you do that at each meeting? I mean, I guess that's going to be on that complaint process, so we'll come back.
It depends on how frequently you want it, because of the database, it's just a matter of doing a report and pulling it out
Okay.
at the frequency that you set.
So the tracking, Mr. Chair, the members, how often, I mean, we have the meetings, so how often are you going to want to get this kind of information that's being tracked?
I'd like to recommend that the first of every month, the first meeting of the month.
But it's gonna depend on caseload
Right.
though, right? So, I mean, so realistically, every case we can look at it and go, oh, it was submitted on this day and they completed it on this day.
She'll probably do a tracking form,
Yeah.
so you don't want each
Yeah.
time. So if you want it once a month,
Maybe quarterly would be
Yeah, I
better?
think quarterly.
Cause that way we can review and look at a trend.
Right.
Yeah, right, like more long-term time frame.
Yeah, but if we doing stuff quarterly, we doing everything else quarterly, we have time to look at the tracking, you know what I mean? Because we doing a quarterly report, we doing this, you know what I mean? So we might need to do it, not everything just quarterly, maybe do it monthly, that's what.
Oh, sorry, Mr. James, yes, sir.
Not a problem. I would double check. It may be easiest even for the staff, because I think the ACC is tracking this data point already. So it may be that that's just an easy number to grab based on what they are already tracking.
yeah, Mr. James, I don't think they were thinking it was hard to collect it. I think we were just trying to know how often they were going to report it once it's tracked.
Got it. So it seems that it can be done monthly, since somebody else is actually doing a lot of the lifting. We should be able to pull that together monthly. So what Ms. Bryant said.
So if Mr. Chair, if it's okay, if y'all could vote whether you want it
Yeah.
quarterly or
Quarterly or monthly, okay.
Yeah.
So we'll go around and take a vote for monthly. I'll call your name. Bryant,
Yes, monthly.
Dr. Coleman,
Quarterly.
okay, Mr. James,
Monthly.
monthly. Daniel Jones, yeah, he's on. Okay, I'll come back. Mr. Melton,
Monthly.
Mr. O'Neill,
Monthly.
Mrs. Ridley,
Quarterly.
Mr. Sanchez,
Quarterly.
Mrs. Springs, absent. Meany absent, and the chair votes quarterly.
Are they 4-4?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4.
When did y'all-
One.
Is this an official vote? Because I need a motion and a second. Is this official or
Oh.
unofficial?
We can go with unofficial.
Yeah.
Thanks. Chairperson, are you
So
voting
is
on
Jones doing that though?
He left.
Oh, okay.
Did he leave? Is he
Yeah.
gone?
Yeah. It was, well, yes.
Well, he didn't break the tie, he made the tie.
Oh, I was asking, did he vote already?
No, he,
Yeah,
no, he
yeah.
didn't vote.
Yes, he did.
No.
No, he
The
didn't.
chair, I'm
Oh,
talking.
me, yeah. Oh,
I'm saying he made the,
yes,
It's
I made the
4-4.
tie. Yes, it's
Yeah.
4-4.
Ooh, okay, I didn't know it was four.
Well, since there wasn't a motion just for quarterly or monthly, I think that's probably the best way to do it, quarterly or monthly, because if we end it with a tie, then the motion fails.
we'll come back to that one because we might have to come back and get a full vote.
Yep.
Okay, but it'll either be monthly or quarterly.
So we've agreed to track it.
Track it,
Right.
right.
The information will get collected.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And this one, I'm not sure who offered this one, but it says track whether responses to complainants are made, whether responses to complainants are made in a timely manner. Again, that's a tracking question, and I'm not sure how people define monthly, so I'm not sure I fully understood this one. So whoever brought it forth wanted to make sure we were reflecting what they were trying to get to. Can someone?
Yes, I believe this might have been me. And
Okay.
I think, the intent behind it was to ensure that if there was some level of confirmation that a complaint was received, someone got some level of follow-up. But if that's not part of the process, that can be stricken from questioning.
So Denise, is that once they receive, track whether complaints are made, responses to complainants are made in a timely manner. Once the decisions are made, it goes back to the complainants. So they would get it.
Once the decisions are made,
Yeah, I mean,
once the investigation has been completed,
yeah, what point do they, when does the complainant hear? Sorry. I'm just, at the end of the process, they make the complaint, they go through whatever as far through the system as they need to. What happens to the complainant finding out the outcome of the
well, I know
complaint?
that doesn't come from the PAB, so I would have to check with the
Okay.
ACC to see if they are actually doing something.
I can actually answer that question.
Thank you.
Inspector General Bennett. So once a complaint is, heard and a decision is rendered by the ACC, there's a time period where the officer may either accept, the discipline that's given, or they can take it to the trial board. So basically, if you're asking me what's the time frame, it varies. If the officer accepts, within that 15-day, 30-day time period, then at that point, the complainant is notified that, they have reached a decision in the case, the final disposition has been reached, et cetera, that comes from the ACC.
So, let me ask you, but what is that period for when the decision is made and something is sent to the complainant? Is there a time frame after, is it within
Well, no,
10 days after they?
The officer has to accept the discipline first, because there's a period of 15 days, I believe, where they have the opportunity to appeal to a trial board.
Right, so we
We can't send, a letter to the complainant saying, this decision has been rendered or this complaint is closed, because we won't know until the officer says, okay, I'll accept whatever the discipline is, and then at that point, it stops. And then, within the next, day or so, the notification is made to the complainant, and information is sent to PAB.
And I think that's what I'm trying to say. So once, let's say, under your first scenario, they accept it. Is it 1 to 2 days, or is there a specific mandate? I think that's what the time limit. Is it 5 days after it's settled that first time? If they accept it, would it be 5 days? Would it be 10 days?
That's something I would have to get back to you on.
Okay.
I wanna say 5 days, but
Okay.
I don't know for sure.
Okay.
But it is within that, it's not an extended period of time, so it would be within 5 days. Typically, Isabel is quick on the draw, and within that day or two, that information goes out if it's accepted. But
Okay.
as far as the rules go, I'll check with her,
Okay.
and I can email it to Denise, who can then thus email it to the board.
Okay.
So all of you would know what the actual time frame is.
And if you're doing that one, Mr. Adju, then also the one coming from, if they appeal it and AHB makes a decision and the police officer says okay to that,
Yeah.
and circuit court. So what we're trying to do is, so we know after whatever the final disposition, so when they track these trends, we can see if it's done, to his point, in a timely manner. So if it's supposed to be done within 5 days,
Absolutely.
we want to know, because if it's being done in 10 days, then that wouldn't be timely, right? So as soon as we can find that out, we'll be able to track, right?
And so I understand, it's just one update. It's basically, once it's final, that's when a complainant will get their determination, but there are no other stages where they're updated.
That is correct, unless they're called, at a hearing board as a witness. That will be that finality of the process, that will be the only time that they're notified. I know that, the thought process going forward is, once we get our websites and everything to where we need it to be, they'll be able to track it, so they'll see that it's in motion or whatever. They can look at it and review it themselves, but in terms of a final letter from ACC, that doesn't come until the end of the process.
Okay.
I had a question related to that.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Bennett, you said they only notified of the hearing if they're called as a witness? Are they not notified just in general that there will be a hearing?
If there's an actual hearing, I don't wanna misspeak on this, so let me research that. Hearings are open to the public, so, if a hearing does happen, there may be a notification. Let me just verify that. Denise did hand me a charging committee, complaint, and basically, the day the notifications go out to the officer, to the department, the complainant is actually listed on the sheet too, so they receive it all at the same time. But I'll get you an update on terms of the time frame. And Mr. James, I'll let you know, if they're notified, if a hearing does, occur, even if they're not called as a witness. I'll get you that information as well.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, then, any other questions on that particular one? Thank you, Mr. Bennett. The next one, milestones is, provide monthly report to, and I'm assuming this is staff, but monthly report, I don't know who, monthly report to the PAB on the status of all complaints received and forwarded to the law enforcement agencies and complaints received from ACC. That's a staff function, right? So I want to make sure.
Sounds like it. Yeah, okay.
So does anybody have any questions or concerns about that one? Okay. So those are all the milestones that were included under number 1 objective. Are there any that, after you all reviewed it at home, that you wanted to add as milestones? Okay, seeing none, we will move to objective 2, which is establish and implement policy, systems, and procedure that support the efficient and effective disposition of public complaints of misconduct. There were no milestones submitted to Denise, to my knowledge. Does anybody have any milestones that they put together to go into this objective? In this particular case, because we are supposed to have objectives and milestones for each of the objectives, I will take on a volunteer to provide milestones for objective 2. And don't anybody feel like you gotta raise your hand real quickly, but who would like to do that for our next meeting? Okay, so here's my other way of going. Can I just go around and do it in order, and if we're missing objectives, whoever's there, I'll put it on them to take it on? Okay, thank you, Carlo, you first. Okay,
I'm glad I'll be the first one.
Okay, Carlo, if you could give us, we're trying to do, if it's so needed, 3 milestones for this one. Okay, thank you. Okay, on number 3, collect and review monthly complaint data for Prince George's County, present at least monthly during PAB meeting. Collect and review monthly complaint data for Prince George's County. I guess it would have been, and present at least monthly during PAB meetings. Can you all discuss this? One, if you're doing this collect and review monthly, the complaints, and also are you presenting it at least monthly? So if people could speak to that one, please, if you support that one.
It sounded a lot like the last milestone.
Yeah.
Well, she will, by virtue of what they're doing, they're gonna have to collect it to be able to track it. So are you saying, Mr. Mountain, we should not keep this one and erase it?
Unless someone added it with a different, and maybe my interpretation is off, but the report is collecting and getting that data. It's the same data, so.
Right. Mm-hmm. Seems a little redundant.
Yeah.
So we okay with taking that out? I don't wanna, okay. So we're gonna remove number 3, which means, and if it's okay, then the milestone for that one was staff generate report detailing incident data, investigation commenced, date resolved as a running agenda item at least monthly during PAB meetings. What I would like to do, if it's okay, given what you said, I will go back and we'll try to merge that up at the top. And when we have a non-tie, decide whether or not that work will be monthly or quarterly. And we'll bring it back if that's okay. We'll move that up to this. Okay. The new number 3. Identify areas of improvement of law enforcement and Prince George's County responsiveness to public complaints of misconduct. That is objective 3. Are we okay with that one?
I don't have the document. Can you read it one more time?
Oh, I did.
Everybody okay with that one?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we do not have any, Milestones, so Mr. O'Neill, you're next in the queue. If you could do 3 milestones for number 3. Thank you. Number 4, and again, you see, we put in here, explain, rank complaints by category. Not sure who wrote it or what's being said, so if whoever wrote it.
That may have been me,
Okay,
and I think the intent behind that recommendation was that we are, any report, able to perhaps put the complaints by category of misconduct.
give an example.
So if it's,
Fist strike, palm strike.
yeah, and, or if it's, even if the category is somehow deemed excessive force or
Right,
something
okay.
like that,
Okay.
and maybe those type of things fall under excessive force, we're able to see month to month,
Okay.
or over the year, if there are any trends and, disparities in one particular misconduct versus others. I just wanted to make sure that, to some degree, not knowing what kind of a report we're gonna generate, that's at least something we can do.
Okay, would you be okay, question, if, as we talk about when they do this tracking and we create a tracking sheet, if that's one of the pieces that's in that tracking, and merge it up?
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be fine.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Well, comment. You're gonna be coming up with the categories? Is that what you're feeling?
I mean, I feel like the board could.
Well, I was just gonna say, when we were the CCOP, we put them in 9 categories.
Okay.
Attention to duty, unbecoming conduct, criminal misconduct, ethics and credibility, harassment, firearm discharge, use of force, use of language, procedure violations, and I might be missing one, but generally, we found that everything fell within those 9 categories.
Okay.
So,
And I can share those with you.
Yes.
so Denise, if you wouldn't mind sending that to them so they would be ready at the next meeting to say these categories work or don't work. Okay.
Those are, most of them will be the external ones, correct, Denise? Would
You would be doing, once we start getting internal, you would be doing internal as well.
Okay, so there will be internal and external?
Yeah, but right now, we're only dealing with the external.
Okay.
Okay, we're on number 5. Implement a web-based solution to give community policymakers and other stakeholders access to tracking. Is everybody okay with that one? Okay. Milestones, develop an internal tracking system for complaints filed with the PAB from submission to resolution. Develop an internal tracking system for complaints filed directly with law enforcement agencies from submission, to resolution. Develop system to compile national police complaint data for purposes of benchmarking and comparison. Let me do this because these are a little different when you get to some of these. So let me go one by one and you can say if y'all support or not. Okay, develop an internal tracking system for complaints filed with the PAB from submission to resolution. Is everybody okay with that one? Okay. Develop an internal tracking system for complaints filed directly with law enforcement agency from submission to resolution. We okay with that one? This one is a little more comprehensive. Develop a system to compile national police complaint data for purpose of benchmarking and comparison. Can y'all have some discussion about that one, please?
Yes.
Oh.
National data, I don't think there is a
I was
national.
gonna say there are some national data sets
Yeah,
that
I don't
capture
think
it.
there's a national, pool of data to pull from. And when it comes to that one before that one that has to do with the internal complaint, I'm not sure how to
Yeah.
ensure that we can do that now until we get internal complaints.
No, this is an internal
Tracking
tracking system.
I know it's an internal tracking
Or-
system, but the first one dealt with the ones to PAB, and that second one, if I'm not mistaken,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
dealt with the ones to the, police department.
The ones that go directly to them.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
But didn't you all, and maybe this is you or Mr. Bennett, was there some discussion about having a joint system where people could see all of it, so whether it was PAB generated or municipality generated, everybody would have access so that you could do this?
Yeah, that's in the works, but that won't be that won't be dealt with within this budget season, so we're talking about another budget cycle, before we can even touch that. So I'm not sure if you want to, kind of hamstring yourself to that particular mandate if we're not ready. My suggestion would be you revisit that once you know that we have on the staff side, have that database, set, ready to go.
Yeah, we don't have
So
to-
it may be helpful because there is a subgroup that's doing the long-range plan, and maybe we move this particular one to
Over
the
to that.
long-range
Okay.
plan when you have more time. Okay.
Now, the internal one, we can,
Right.
Mhm. Okay, so number 2 is gonna move over, if everybody's okay, to the possibly long range. Okay, we're going to delete, if I understood correctly, number 3 milestone, is that,
Well, I mean, we could maybe try to get a representative sample, maybe from other jurisdictions that are large, like Prince George's County, like New York, Philly. I mean, we could do that and
we're
do
moving it
some
from national to state now, right?
So it could be that
Just for Maryland.
this milestone turns into researching that.
Yeah.
So like, we don't necessarily know right now,
Mhm.
so we research available, state or national complaint
Data, right.
for benchmarking and comparison.
data?
I would suggest it to be state.
I put the word national. And I don't know that, given everything else y'all are taking on, I'm not sure in the short range, y'all can do this one.
Okay.
It's another one that y'all could maybe move to the long range.
Yeah.
Okay. And then whoever's working on that can decide whether it's just state or state and national, or maybe state and region, you know, it might be, I don't know. Okay. Okay. Next one is long range, I'm sorry. Next one is develop a system to correlate complaints based on demographics such as race and gender.
The complainant or the police officer?
I didn't write,
Oh,
so I'm not
okay.
sure. Develop a system to correlate complaints based on demographics such as race. So, to your question, is it the complainant or is it the officer?
Yeah,
The officer.
yeah, I think this is mine, so it would be the officer.
So,
And
Denise?
that would be dependent upon how that data is provided to the ACC.
Right.
Whether or not that
The race
demographic
may not
to
even
that
be
level
there,
is
correct?
provided to the ACC.
Yeah.
I know the Prince George's County Police Department in their report of investigations captured that data, but I don't know about any other jurisdictions.
I don't believe
so
so.
this might be another one for research to see what's out there and move to long range. Are you okay with that?
In the complaining to the form, do they have a box on there that they check to see, you know, when they do the
For that
audit?
rated,
It's optional,
right. Yeah, it's on there, I believe,
but it's optional.
right.
That's all we can go by, though.
And then the next one is develop a case management system which can improve how case progress is tracked through each phase. Ms. Melton, you might wanna, is that yours also?
I believe so.
Okay, you wanna explain it, so I,
Sounds like, it kind of falls in the category that we talked about earlier, where if this database is being developed, this might need to move once we learn more.
to the long range?
Yeah,
Okay.
more about that.
Brian, you have your hand up?
Yes, I had a regarding the last topic, that perhaps we would want to know both the complainant as well as the officer, the race and sex of each, and not just one, but on both, if it's available.
So maybe, Ms. Bryan, here, since it's moved to the area of research, we can start to look at what kind of data is available as part of that, figuring out, if that's okay. And I've added both to there. I put officer and complainant.
A separate committee, long-term?
Yeah, these last two move from doing it to researching on what data is available.
Right.
So I
but-
put both to see if both are available.
No, I heard you say that there's a separate subcommittee working on long-term strategy.
There was gonna be, yes, I don't know if we selected, but there's, the whole group, you all voted that the whole group would do the short term and a subcommittee would do the long term. I don't think the selection of that subgroup has been made, but whatever it is, it will be a subgroup and not the entire committee.
Yeah,
Board,
so that,
I'm sorry.
I thought that you were saying that it had already been established and that they're working on it. That's all. I just want to
Oh.
clarify.
No, ma'am.
Okay,
Just
thank you.
that you all voted, just
Right.
that you all voted to have it, yes. Okay. So we've moved that one to long range. I've added Ms. Bryant, officer and complainant to, however, we changed that one. And then the final one is develop a process to obtain citizen, feedback. Is everybody okay with that one? Okay, it says measure, I think this one's supposed to say milestone. The two milestones are citizen feedback provided to PAB within 5 days of receipt, and create an agenda line item to discuss findings, feedback, et cetera. Can we go back to the first one, because there were a number of ones that had pretty quick turnarounds? And I just wanted you all to discuss that, because it says citizen feedback provided to y'all aren't even here. So is that, if y'all would discuss timeframes and if 5 days, yeah. It says citizen feedback provided to PAB within 5 days of receipt. That really goes on the staff.
Can I just ask if there's some clarity about
Yes,
the type of feedback?
Yeah.
Like, is it about?
I think, Ms. Bryant, I think this one was yours, maybe?
You're on mute.
You're muted.
You're muted. Can you type her in the chat? She's muted? Oh, okay.
The idea is that we get, I don't know, did I say 5 days? Whatever comments that we receive from the community, that we're made aware of them in a timely way. So 5 days is not necessarily positive, just in a timely way.
You said comments?
Yeah, the question was like comments related to what part? Is it about the PAB in general, or is it the response, the complaint process?
The community response be provided to us in a timely way.
I think he was going back a little earlier, what feedback it was and what was it related to?
Yeah, can you give us an example?
Yeah, they were trying to get a little more clarity on what you meant by feedback.
Oh, feedback from the whatever comments that there are made by the community with regard to some question that they may have, because I think the prior to that is to provide a mechanism to record citizen comments or feedback to whatever it is. I don't know. I'm not
Confused.
Are you talking about if we have a community meeting or
The
something?
citizens who
Yeah.
calls or writes a letter and complains about the process or something, she wants that shared with you guys within 5 days of it coming into the office.
Or what if you have a town hall and you get feedback? So there are a number of ways that you could generate feedback.
Right.
So is it just one way? Is it on website? And then if it's on the website, getting it back in 5 days without, so I think,
You can be inundated with a lot of things as well, too.
Okay.
I mean,
well,
the first one, Ms. Bryant, would it be okay if since, we hold off on the milestones until the board determines what that process is for the feedback and what feedback is included? And once you all decide that, because that might come under the community outreach, and once you do that, then you could create the milestones for it. Would you be okay with that?
yes.
Thank you. So we'll hold on the milestones for this one, just until you pick the process, okay?
Yeah, it looks like it comes later.
It does.
And so, yeah, I think we just
And at least, it might be articulated in more detail. Okay, we have gotten through, yay, clap your hands, we gotten through two. Okay, we're on to goal 3, and if it's okay, Mr. Chairman, don't kill me when I say this. If we can at least try, because I don't like stopping in
Okay,
between.
understood.
So if we could do 3, and that would get us close to the hour,
Okay.
and we may go over.
12 minutes.
I know, I'm saying we may go over a little bit, just so we can finish.
Oh, that's fine, 'cause I
Okay.
had set it for 7:45.
Oh, yes, sir, thank you. Okay, we are on, goal 3, improve police accountability. We are now on objective 1, examine policing among law enforcement agencies. Are you all in support of that objective?
I just have a question about, what does examine policing mean?
Nationwide, I think I wrote that one, like other law enforcement entities, see what kinds of things are new and improved, what things are working, what things aren't. That was my intent.
So is this one a best practices?
Kind of like. More so.
And can you all just tell us, when you're doing that, are you gonna look state, region, national? What, you're saying, Ms. Bryant, national?
I think national, yes.
There are evidence-based
I think it has
practices,
particularly,
Nationally.
national,
Okay.
yeah, or emerging practices.
Yes.
DOJ, the Bureau of Justice
Mhm,
Assistance,
mhm.
and then there's the Community-Oriented Policing Services, COPS, so they compile that kind of information, so that would be relatively easy to access.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about examine best practices among law enforcement agencies nationally.
Mhm.
Okay. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna move to the milestones. And these are pretty specific, so if you all could listen in depth to these. Review and recommend updates to the standard operating procedures, policies, and general orders for at least 6 municipal agencies. I guess I wanna make sure I'm understanding, because if the milestones is how you're gonna examine the national practices, does that one necessarily go with it?
If I could jump in there. I
yes, sir.
would say, what, and I may have wrote that, but I think it's too big. And I hear what we're talking about in total, but I guess for me, when I think about policing, I think about the full profession. And I think that we have to narrow our scope to what is our responsibility and our authority. And we may need to scale that back to really focus in on complaint and disciplinary processes within our scope. So that may be too broad as some of the things that we're talking about when we're looking at it from a national perspective, to really hone in on what is our scope and do that well first.
Other thoughts, please?
I would also ask the intent behind doing it. So is it so that we're better informed, so that we have more information to create recommendations and suggestions based on best practices? Or is it some other purpose?
I didn't write that one.
Are we talking about the milestone or the objective still?
Oh,
I think we've gone back up to the objectives
Oh, that
now,
was
I
it,
think.
yeah.
Okay.
Because if we're trying to understand and update these things as it relates to kind of what we initially talked about where we're examining it, I was just trying to figure out what's the purpose,
Right.
what is the
But
intent?
isn't the purpose of that,
what
we
is the
have ammunition, when we have ammunition, when the police chief come before us, so they're not telling us what they're doing, we can say, well, this is what they're doing at this place, or they're doing this in Hagerstown, or are y'all doing that? As far as, community relationship, they're getting better to that. That's what I think. This section is giving us ammunition, so they're not talking at us. we can recommend stuff to them,
Sure.
you know what I mean?
But we also have to have that conversation, right, because we can't assume that they're not doing it.
No, I'm just saying, I mean, if they give us a presentation and they don't mention it,
Right.
and then we say, well, we found that this is what they're doing in Cumberland, Maryland, I'm just saying, you know what I mean? And that, because we need ammunition, you know.
So whatever we decide is our purpose behind, wanting to do this, the reason I ask is because we have a goal 5, which is about equipping the PAB with knowledge and skills and abilities. So if someone has a different purpose, it might sit here, but it also might be something that sits there. And so I was just curious if there was more
Well, no.
insight about.
Yes,
If
ma'am.
the
Go ahead, Ms. Blunt.
goal is to improve policing, then how would we formulate? And I agree that it dovetails into the further the other one, but if we're going to have information about how to improve, then how do we learn that except to examine other places and to use empirical data to provide that kind of information to our own law enforcement entities? That's all. But yes, it's very similar to the one you just said, yeah.
Right, but I think under the guise of the fact that the goal is to improve, I would assume that this objective is to help us improve policing, right? And while there is another goal that has to do with us and our knowledge, this one I think specifically would speak to the goal itself, right? And that kind of sets why all these objectives are objectives to a goal of improving police accountability, which to me means we're examining this to then be able to somehow help improve that, right?
So let me ask you, because it may be that first milestone,
Yeah, I don't.
doesn't fit as a milestone, but maybe it's examine best practice and share with the municipal, county law enforcement, and share what we found.
Yeah,
and use it as a basis for recommendations.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like how you frame it.
because I'd hate to think how we would go about picking 6 municipalities.
Because that sounds great,
Right.
they like have the sample size,
And
the
then-
research are coming out at me, it's like,
Right.
how do you
And they could
determine what the
easily
sample
become us
size
picking on
is?
them, right?
Right, correctly, yeah.
Oh, why did you choose to tell us how we do our jobs versus,
Or we do it better than another law enforcement, why didn't you pick us?
right, exactly,
Flip side.
so.
Okay, so we're gonna expand the objective to include, we'll find a way for the milestone 1, okay? And then whoever wrote number 2, if you could explain for us how it folds into the objective 1, so make sure it's being reflected. It says, conduct review of monthly reports of police conduct. And I'm just trying to make sure I understand, now that we've added the word best practices, how that rolls into that. Or does it roll?
I'm not sure not, but it seems that would be appropriate to see, okay, if we're going to improve policing, so we'll see what is happening, what's going on. You can't, maybe it doesn't need to be improved. Maybe it's going well. And so we should review it so that we can see what the trends are. That is a part of the trends, identifying trends, is to review it. That's what I'm saying, or that's what I think.
So does that fit in number 2 as opposed to, I guess, a milestone in number 1? Because it also talks about identified trends. And it talks about review of the outcomes in number 2.
I think what I've recognized is that the way we've sort of done it, we kind of naturally fell into this dilemma where some of it's like overlapping and repetitive because we didn't establish reporting
Right. Yep.
and education as separate things. Well, we did, but then we're also making goals in each of the categories related to that. So one way we could rectify that is we could build knowledge and education into every goal and reporting into every goal, or we could separate them out and make them distinct things. We only talk about them in those goals.
Or maybe we could merge this one with the milestone that talked about identifying trends. So it'd say something like, conduct review of monthly reports of police conduct to
To identify
identify
that-
trends, blah, blah, whatever.
See, that was my thought, that it
Okay.
moved down to number 2.
Mhm.
As opposed to be a milestone, it becomes an objective.
Okay.
So I was thinking the exact thing. Are you okay with that, Mr. Milton?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was definitely, and then the last one in this section, and does this is about the discipline matrix and provide recommended updates based on trends analysis or policy changes. And again, we've added the best practices on a national, so does this now, given that, still fit? And it really is just a question. And then the other question is that an objective in and of itself?
I mean, it kind of feels like it's in number 2, right? Because we're identifying trends in the disciplinary process, which would mean that we'll be looking at how the matrix, we could add it in there, right? And say, we could analyze the outcomes and review the matrix. And then, we would probably want to put like a time that we do that. The matrix, and Mr. Bennett maybe can help me with this, but is that the Maryland Police Training Commission or is it?
That kind of the matrix, yeah.
Right, and so there's gotta be a review period in which they probably need to vote on it if they're gonna make changes, so we would probably wanna align our review and recommendation so that it's in a timely fashion to when they're going to actually work on it, right?
And I do know that we had some discussion about that there were some issues that even the police chiefs already see as it relates to the matrix and how they are doing the discipline. And so even though this is in, I'm sorry for my back, even though this is in the short term, this may be something that you all, I think we talked about having a subgroup that looks at this more readily now so that it can be relevant from the perspective of the PAB, that it can stay in here because it's within the time frame, but maybe there's a group that can look specifically at the matrix sooner rather than later. Mr. Bennett, is that okay with you? Because I see your eyes kind of.
You know, I'm just thinking, I guess, long-term, and I wanna say that they just looked at the, matrix recently. You know, I was trying to read up on, everything when I got here. But there may be a period where, once it comes around for review, and yes, you're correct, some of the police chiefs do have some issues with the matrix and, discipline. Some of them actually feel it's not stringent enough.
That's what I heard, yeah.
So there could be a request coming to, re-examine the matrix. If that's said, then it is possible, you guys as an established board, once you do look at matrix around the country, state, however you wanna do it, you may be able to, offer up some recommendations in terms of, you know, processes, discipline, et cetera. I mean, you're a recognized entity here in Maryland, so, you know, I'm not sure how the state's process is in terms of that, but, offering up a letter with recommendations, a formal letter from the board, I think that would be a good idea, coming from you.
And you know, I think we had earlier a conversation because even with some of the CCOP who didn't have the benefit of a quote-unquote matrix, may bring some thoughts that would be helpful that they might not have considered at the state level since the county has been doing it for such a long time in terms of the disciplinary process. So if it's okay, Mr. Chair, if we can, at least for that, maybe we'll keep it in here as a matrix, but maybe ask for a subgroup of 3 people
For
just to look at the matrix
Okay.
and bring it back to the group. So, who would like to be on that subgroup? Cause you know my new thing is just going around, we're at Mr. Melton, so would these three like to do that one? Yes.
Yes, I say yes.
Okay, we like that, we're just going in a circle, thank you, Mr. Melton.
Oh,
They laugh, we're doing the table, and then we're doing up there. Although Mr. James, he likes this kind of stuff. Mr. James, would you like to, be on that committee?
If I'm voluntold, I'm good to go with it.
Okay, so for the matrix group, so we're doing it, we're going up and then come back down. So, on the matrix, we have Mr. Melton, Mr. James, and I'll let the ladies, can I say that? Yes. Choose between them who wanna say yes to this. Do both of y'all wanna do it? No. Oh.
No, I'm like saying for her, yes.
So are you saying for you, Dr. Coleman, yes?
No, we're saying the next one that you got, you can put me, Dr. But you won't call somebody else?
Oh, okay.
Okay, Ms. Bryant, is this one is that all, and Daniel, he left.
Yes.
Ms. Bryant, is this one you wanna do? She
Thumbs
said
up,
yes?
yes.
Okay, so we have for the matrix, Mr. Melton, Mr. James, and Ms. Bryant.
Yes.
And the HIG.
Oh,
I just wanna, make a comment. So, I can research, to see what their process is in terms of when they look at it, how they look at it, do they get input from, the citizens, et cetera. And again, it doesn't matter if they get input from the citizens. You as a recognized board, you can still fire up a letter, to them. But I'll also, find out, from the county side, more on the legislative side of the county, who the appropriate contact person would be. So when it's time to fire up that letter, you have everything in place.
Perfect.
So I'll get that information to Denise, and she can forward it to you guys, and you go from there.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's the Maryland Commission, it's the training commission, for the state of Maryland. So that's the commission that actually trains all the, police officers. They write.
Is that under the state police or public safety?
They're the ones that give all police officers, whether state, county, local, they certify.
Okay,
them.
right,
So
okay.
those are the ones that write the policies, that write the discipline, that make sure stuff is the way it should be, so.
Thank you. So, number 2 objective is identify trends. It's gonna merge the conduct a review and whatever and identify trends in the disciplinary process of police officers. Conduct accurate, objective, and timely reviews of policing issues and trends to help identify areas of process. If anybody has, I don't know, you all were looking at that, those were 2 recommendations. Do y'all prefer one over the other, where you see the slash, or those were the same thing written 2 different ways? Of those 2, which do you prefer? So you see number 2, it says identify trends in the discipline process of police officers. That was one objective. One that was similar was conduct accurate, objective, and timely reviews of policing issues and trends to help identify areas of improvement. People wrote it 2 different ways. Which of the 2 do you prefer? Or do you want us to merge it?
That second statement, to me, half of it seems to be objective 1.
Okay.
And the other half, to me, seems to be objective 3. Because one is you examine, so we would conduct a review and examine trends nationally, and best practices, we've already said. And then number 3 says that we're gonna recommend those changes. So I feel like that statement is really already encompassing 2 goals, or the 2 objectives that surround it.
So I wanna make sure I'm clear, for number 2, you think it can be totally taken out and just do 1 and then move 3 to 2? Thoughts?
I mean, remove objectives 2 to 3, you mean? Is that what you're saying?
To, if I understood it, to remove totally 2,
Mhm.
because it is encompassed in both 1 and 3. And then that would become 1, and the current 3 would become 2.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. And although, don't kill me, I would like to, because we are being very intentional about the matrix, to make that a separate objective, because it has its own timeline, so that would become number 3.
Okay.
So now, if we have gotten, if I could get you all to look at the milestones under 2 and see whether it's 1 or the new 2, those milestones, if any, should be included. And I'm talking about the ones that say monthly reviews of disciplinary outcome reports, the one that establish a quarterly summary report and communicate with heads. So, the first question is, do you want to keep them as milestones? The second question, if you do, where do you want it placed, under number 1 or the new number 2?
Communicate with heads, is that agency, that's a law enforcement agency like chiefs or?
I think it's the heads, the police chief, I
Head
think.
of the police department?
Just trying to see if the quarterly report, and then with our monthly. So this would be about discipline.
Well, actually, the summary reports would have to go under new number 2 anyway, because the first one is really looking at best practices, right? So that wouldn't even, it may be most of these milestones really fit in the new number 2, is what I'm thinking. And none in the number 1, which is really the national best practices. Are you okay with that? Okay. And once we go and, we will kind of condense it, because once you condense it, it may not make all the same sense, but we'll work on trying to merge the language for you all to look at again. Okay, now, under the new number 2, there was a milestone of review at least 12 different agency specific policy references, community complaint process submission. I'm not sure what that says, so whoever wrote that, if you could tell us what that means. And if not, do you want to keep it or do you want to delete it?
Are they just, I didn't write it, but I'm just saying, are they saying like, out of what, 24 we got? 24 municipalities?
At least.
Huh?
23.
23. That's including Prince George's. I guess that's what they were saying, out of that 23, see what, how the policies, at least 12 of them, are they related?
It said policy references. I don't know what that means.
I think it was referencing.
I don't know, but I'm just saying, somebody just used that 12 as a good number to get some, get a feel for how it's going in all of 23, you know what I mean?
When you actually got 27 law enforcement agencies, some of them already.
The schools.
No, we gotta do with the sheriff,
Oh, yeah.
the fire marshal,
I should have put it in different. How many entities do we have? 27 or 37?
27.
Okay, that's what I mean. And now, so they're saying 12 out of the entities.
They sent 12 out of whatever the total number is, they're using 12 as.
But what does it mean, policies reference, community
I
complaints?
think it was
What does that mean?
referencing,
Oh, referencing?
I think that's what they meant.
But I'd rather know what they're all doing, if we're gonna look at.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
If we're gonna,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it feels like we could just send a letter out to each agency and say, hey, can you send us your, you know, what is it?
Really,
Your
sample,
complaint
really.
process, your complaint submission process.
And then when we get it in, we can see.
Yeah, then we can just compare all of
See
them.
if 12 match.
Yeah.
Cause we have to do all, we can't do a
Yeah.
sample when
Yeah.
we got authority over all 27.
I mean, we either do them all, or we do none of them.
Right.
So if you all are okay, we'll just change that to request, complaint process for all of the relevant agencies.
Okay.
And I'm not sure after where it's gonna go, but it's gonna go somewhere in this, okay?
Okay.
We're on, and the last one, we'll stop at 4 because Mr. Chair said we have a break.
And 4 is.
Number 4 is
do three.
utilize technology to track and analyze data. Do you all wanna, is that okay to keep? And then the milestone is present tracking and data analysis report, generate staff at least monthly. Again, at some point, put a circle around monthly. I think we, as a separate conversation, will look at all reporting and see whether you want quarterly, because there are a lot of places in here, Denise, if I could ask staff to help pull out everywhere there's a staff-generated report required to see and put it separate so we can start seeing what we're asking for to make sure that we, you know, that it's doable,
Right.
okay?
I like quarterly, but I'll go with quarterly, we can stay consistent, because
Yeah.
it depends on the caseload, the volume. And then you may have different categories, like Mr. Melton was saying, so we'd be able to comprise more data, look at more data.
At one
And,
time.
yeah, and then analyze that data, because if we have like maybe, let's say, 4 cases, and then, you know, 1 month, 2, is it worth compiling all of that every month? Whereas most of the mandates and the things that we have to do are quarterly, so why don't we stick on that?
Can we get a vote on that so far? Because one of the things I will say that I'm a little concerned about is just capacity.
Yeah.
And you all are get ready, when you get to the community outreach, you're gonna say, we want you to go to 10 here,
Yeah.
4 there.
Yeah.
And it sounds really good until you see how much time and effort it's
Right.
gonna take. So if we can start on a quarterly basis, see how it runs, staff gets their feet wet, their flips moving, and then they may say, we got this down so well, we can give you a monthly generated
that.
report. But until then, I think we need to have some sensitivity to the amount of workload that we're putting on staff. Can you all vote on that, Mr. Chair, on the quarterly versus monthly?
All right, so let's go around and all out, okay. So, everybody here?
For, Tangi's sake, can we vote on them each differently, vote on monthly, then vote on quarterly, so she can keep her, or is this an official vote?
So that's what we were doing, right?
Yeah.
That, the last time we went around,
Tangi
we
said
said
we-
quarterly.
somebody
But now it
Wait a
keeps
minute, hold
coming
on.
out, it keeps, I'm sorry.
Hold on.
Stuff said before, the last one you saying.
Hold on, what were you saying, Denise? I'll be clear.
That, you know, you vote on quarterly first, and then you vote on monthly and see which
Oh.
one of them.
Right.
That's right.
That's what I was gonna do.
That's what she's doing.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because the
Okay.
last time they went around, they said quarterly or monthly.
Yeah, but that wasn't an official, since this keeps coming up,
Okay,
I
just
thought
wanna
we
make sure-
gonna
just wanna
finally
make sure
get,
she
yeah.
has-
All right, let's make sure this is official then.
Okay.
So I make a motion that all reports referenced in our strategic plan be quarterly reports, to be quarterly reports for the time being.
There we go. And make sure we vote for the time being.
Yeah.
All right.
On that? Well, it should be second first.
Yeah, who's seconding it? Marcia seconded,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, Marsha really seconded, okay. So I'll go ahead and take,
I think there was discussion.
oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Bryant, yes.
Yeah, so what I'm concerned about is that
You're going in and out.
yeah, I'm sorry about that. So what I'm saying is that if we only get the information quarterly, then how do we, at what point do we analyze it and make our own discussions? If we only get the information on a quarterly basis, then when do we use it? You know what I mean?
Well, to me, if we're being presented a report on a quarterly basis, then our agenda would be to then look at that information and come up with recommendations or anything else. That would be the meeting. That quarterly meeting would entail going through those reports, going through the data, and making any recommendations that we would need to make.
And you could start the trends, right? So if one of the trends you see is that, let's use the thing we were talking about, that all of the conductors going past the 5 days. I mean, that's a simple one, because
An
we
example,
talked
right.
about it. Then you could see that trend, maybe make a recommendation that, the recommendation may be as simple as trying to do it within 5 days is not practical given something. It may be that there needs to be some kind of, so there are a lot of things you'll be able to see after that quarter that lets you kind of look at the trends.
What was you gonna say, Ms. Bryant?
I'm sorry, I was saying that, given that there are 10 of us, it may be difficult to do that in a meeting. So that's what I'm saying, so that we'll be able to use it in an effective way. So we'll be getting it, piece by piece, and then at the end of the quarter, we will already have had a chance to look at it and to think about it, and not just do spur of the moment, here, let's vote on it type of thing. That's what I'm concerned about. The information is only useful if you've had the time and resources to think about what you're going to recommend, and not just, okay, here it is, now let's make a decision. Yes, some of the issues may be very easy to solve, but perhaps there won't be. I don't know.
So what if we just ask staff to give us those quarterly reports a week or 10 days before the meeting? Then we could review it on our own and come to the meeting prepared to receive those reports officially, have the discussion, and make any motions or votes on things that we would need to have.
Exactly what I'm getting at.
We would be meeting more than that after the quarterly report, right?
Yeah, of course.
Why would we have to limit ourselves to one meeting to address the report?
Oh, sure, yeah,
I see reports as data that informs the decisions you make going forward.
Right.
And so having it in front of us, having it with us, we can go home and review it.
Right.
As we continue to do our work, that data is there for us, but it's not necessarily directing us to do anything
That's it, right.
specific. It's just a tool used for our decision-making as we progress through whatever else we're working on.
I know what you said, yeah. No, what you said, something wrong with it? Okay. Any other discussion?
Make sure that
Yeah.
was clear. Get that information. If we're planned, if there's a plan to make some kind of recommendations, because if it's all quarterly, should we stagger the requirement? I mean, is it at the end of the quarter? You know what I'm saying? So that everything isn't done all at once, that we have time to reflect on whatever it is that we're doing in a deliberate way. And what you said, Mr. Melton, I get it.
I think, Ms. Bryant, right now, just kind of 30,000 foot level, whether it was gonna be monthly or quarterly, and then maybe the more specifics about if it's at the beginning of the month, the end of the month, if it's staggered, that kind of stuff. Maybe we can come back once they put together that sheet
To revisit
to
it?
show all of the reports that have to be done.
Anyone else? All right, so the motion stands on the new, oh, yes, ma'am?
Then why don't we just put a pin in that until we get that report, just like we did for the other issue?
We're gonna take a vote on it right now. We're gonna take a vote on it right now. So, I'm gonna go around, call your name, either quarterly or monthly, so we can.
We're voting on quarterly.
Oh, I'm sorry, I said monthly, I'm sorry. Thank you, right. Thank you, Ms. Frank. Okay, so quarterly, I'll call your name, Ms. Bryant, yes or no?
I abstain.
Okay, Dr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. James,
No.
Jones, Mr. Melton,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
No.
Ms. Ridley,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
motion. Springs, absent. Mr. Vergamini, absent, and the chair votes yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, quarterly. Want to take a vote for monthly?
Don't need to.
Oh,
we got
well,
the-
let's start with for the official vote. Okay, I was,
Yeah, you got the
Okay.
vote.
If quarterly had failed, then we could.
See if people wanted to, or
why
daily.
didn't you just humor me though? Maybe I was just,
I'm
okay.
trying to save you time.
Okay, yeah, 'cause they are, yeah, okay, so, thank you, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. Opposed, 1 abstaining, okay. Okay, did you get that, Tangi, or you need me to get?
I got it.
Okay, thank you. Motion for quarterly passes. And with that,
You said we had to take a break.
I just wanted to make sure, you were on the flow, so, right now, so, let's, go ahead and take a 15-minute break. At 8:05, we shall return, so we take a 15-minute break. Okay, welcome back from the break. Attorney Camp, were you done? Or you have any-
Mr. Chair, my understanding is that we will stop at, number 4, and at our next strategic plan, we'll pick up at number 5, seek community feedback. And I would ask, I know we asked last time, I hope that everybody continues to go through this, and any comments or additions be ready at our next meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Attorney Camp. Next on the agenda is confirmation of legislative recommendations. Everybody should have this document in front of them. So this is something that we talked about at our last meeting, and so if we could take the time to review this and, for 5 minutes, and then come back and discuss it and vote and see if we want to accept these, so Denise can put them into an official document. So let's go ahead and take the opportunity to read that the next 5 minutes, and then we'll discuss.
Mr. Chair, and I think you may have said it, these you already voted on last time,
Yes,
and that's been in the written format.
okay,
And it's not a final document.
right, I said you will put it into a final document after we review, if we have no questions. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, ma'am.
No, I was just saying, Ms. Bryant's audio, I don't think it's working.
Oh, Ms. Bryant?
Yes, so if you
Yeah,
call
it's back now, thank you.
Oh, okay. She's IT herself, that's what I'm talking about.
Mr. Milton, did I give you one of them? Okay, hold on.
Oh, did you email one to?
I took a picture of it while I was sitting here and taking the picture.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. O'Neill, you have yours though, right? Yes, sir. Okay.
Would it be possible for someone to put that share that document on the screen or email it to me?
Did you?
Did you get my email with the picture?
No, I don't believe I did.
Check
When,
it. I sent it during the meeting because I didn't know that you guys weren't gonna be here. And I only had these, hard copies, so I took a picture of all the pages and I sent it to you and Keena. I know that Keena got his because he responded back. Let me make sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I sent it to SF Bryant.
Yeah, I have it.
Extra 2 minutes.
Which one is that? Outreach, the ones that. I don't know the difference between that one. Oh,
That's what I said.
mhm.
You ready? That question's fast.
But I need another pen.
I didn't even see the motion and second at the time. You didn't see that. We need some more. I'm gonna make sure we get a whole lot of it. Oh, yeah. I like the way you think. So, Mr. Bennett, is that you're staying right to 10 o'clock, right?
I'll see you tomorrow, 'cause I'll be in. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay.
One more minute? Just one more minute. All right.
That's funny, he moved.
Who did? Oh. So we're good. So now, hopefully everybody had a chance to read the recommendations that we made. Okay. Any questions or comments? We voted on it. So, take a vote to see if we want to go ahead and agree to this and have it sent, to Denise so she can make it an official document. Is there a motion to, accept the recommendation that we, definitions and clarification? Wait a minute, where did I put my thing at?
Can I
Question.
ask for some help?
Yes.
I'm sorry, ask for some help. Again, this is basically topical and not written in a way to be submitted right now. I may need some help in writing it
Oh, okay,
for submission.
okay. Mr. James had a question.
That was my question. We were saying adopting it and approving it for submission to whom? I'm just trying to understand.
So Denise, well, it was going to be to Denise for her to put it together and compile it, but you said you need assistance.
Yeah, I think these will be your recommendations to the county executive and the county council.
Right.
And again, the only thing I did here was take them and put them under topics. I need now some assistance in writing it in a more professional manner for submission for policy, making.
Okay, anybody like to assist with that? Dr. Cole. He was looking for that, didn't he? Who's that? Dr. Cole. Thank you, Dr. Cole.
I see a hand or something going on.
Oh, you too, Mr. James?
I volunteered.
Voluntold? Voluntold?
No, I don't think we was going around in order that one, so I'll take this one. I'll take this one.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Yeah, thank you. All right, cool. So you don't have to.
We're gonna vote
For these,
to accept these.
yes. So that they can then put it in a document, right, okay. You know what I'm saying, but.
Yeah, I got you.
So,
Do you need me to make a motion?
I would love for you to make a motion.
All right, I move that we accept these recommendations, so that staff and members can, turn this into an official submission for the county exec and the county council.
This is Sheila Bryan, I second.
So we're gonna do it real quick and easy. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, unanimous. All right. All right, next on the agenda under new business is outreach. I'll speak a little bit about that. So we got together, the vice chair and I and admin, we talked about some of the things that we might wanted to do for community outreach, and we came up with, an idea of meeting with the police chiefs, inviting them into our space to sit down and have a conversation with them. For 1 hour, we would call it the, Chiefs Coffee Chat with the PAB. We would do it in the mornings. We haven't decided a time, but it would be sometime in June, starting the middle of June. So we wanted to do that to give an opportunity, for the police to come, ask questions and for us to get feedback. It'd be a two-way information street. What do you guys think about that?
You said who would that be? The entire board or just the
Whoever
three
was able to
who
make it.
discussed it?
Who was ever able to make it, any board member, everyone is invited.
Mhm.
It's an open invitation to the chiefs, and so whichever chief can
Yeah,
make it as well.
yeah, right. Right. And also, and we'll think about it a little bit more about as far as the community outreach part, getting out to the community. One of the things that I think, right now, it's easier to do it this way. And we were thinking that it's best to have some type of presentation, particularly when we go into, the public space, to let them know exactly what it is that we do, because we don't want to go there and just think that they're just here to complain and things like that. We want to let them know that there's a process to this. And so I'm thinking some type of presentation. We'll put that together. Also for the chiefs as well, we'll show them what that presentation looks like, what we will be giving out to the community as a whole. So, is everybody okay with that? We will start it sometime in June. I can't remember the date. Do you remember the date, Mr.
It was
Vice Chief?
mid-June. I don't know what the 14th is, but for some reason it seems like the 14th.
Yeah, it was Flag Day.
Yeah, I think it
remember
was
that.
the 14th.
Yep, it was, yes, okay. Remember Flag Day.
Well, that's what we supposed to do anyway, they're supposed to come to us anyway, you know what I mean?
So we're saying, yes, so we're gonna do that. So I just wanted to, that's part of the community outreach that we would do monthly. We started,
I will make sure they RSVP,
okay.
that way everybody don't show up and no chief.
Sound like you've been there before.
I mean,
Okay.
What was your comment? I'm sorry.
just making sure we have a RSVP system so that we know that it's
Yeah.
worth having a meeting.
Okay. Yes, sir.
No, because that's the meetings we supposed to have along with the community. So, and, you know, and if we, like you say, develop like a PowerPoint
Mm-hmm.
and beforehand, so before everybody jump off in the community, I
Exactly.
know this, and then, but if they do have complaints, that goes back to some of our objectives and milestones. We have what they say, you know, how to develop better relationships with the community, the police, you know.
So we'll work and put that together, and like you said, we'll come up with the RSVP. Then we'll make sure that the entire board is aware of which chiefs are coming. And so if you can make it, it would be great. And we'll put together the agenda, we'll work on that, just to have it. I think it would be really, really good. And again, my whole thought process is about this, there's no us versus them, and I said that at the chiefs meeting. In order to, be effective, we need to work collectively together with all parties involved. And I think that, working with the police chiefs, as well as the, community and the public, I think that, we'll make our mark as Prince George's County in leading in the way new police accountability is going to be looked at. Again, I always say that we're not just looked at through, in Prince George's County, the state of Maryland, but the entire country is looking at us. So we want to be that shining light and that example. With that, any, questions, thoughts? And I mean, it's nothing concrete now. I'll send out an email. We'll kind of put something together, and if you have any, input or any of the slides or anything like that, we'll work together, putting that together. I want everybody's input, so everybody has some, something to say. Is that okay?
Yes.
Next on our agenda is the case and complaint data update. Ms. Hall, I will give it to you.
Well, this is gonna be very short. We've gotten so far 25 cases. And we're gonna talk about how we're gonna review these cases in the next item. We've got 25 completed cases that have been completed by the ACC and referred to us for review. I've gone through all of them to see what, what we have, what, we don't have, and what we may need to get from the ACC, if anything at all. And we're working on a process for you all. I guess I can combine both discussions now.
Yep.
I'm working on a process for those cases to be placed into a secure Teams folder. That's why I want you to bring your computers, but again, the IT person didn't come, so I can't verify that your computers work. But we're gonna put them in the Teams folder, and you'll be able to look at your review cases from that environment only. You won't be able to download them, share them, print them, or anything. All the reviews would have to be done. And what I'm going to do is drop a sanitized version of them into your folder, so you can begin to look at what they look like.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be real case data, it just won't have any identifying information for now, considering that we can't get into the Teams folders right now. Once we resolve this Teams issue, that's the first thing I'm going to do is drop maybe 4 or 5 cases, and then you look at them, and then you come back to me and tell me some of the things that you think are missing, which is the things that you'd like to see and want to know if we even get them. That's gonna be our first step toward getting these reviews done, and then you're gonna decide how frequently you want to review them and how many you want to review at a time.
You said the initial drop will be where?
The initial drop, as soon as we resolve this, IT issue about your access, because I don't think everybody can access it, because I think you need a VPN access. As soon as we resolve that, and I'm hoping we get that resolved by the end of the week, or at least by Monday, and sometime by Monday, I will drop 5 folders, and I'll tell you exactly where you can go and get those 5 folders. But at this time, it won't be the secured environment, because they're still working on that secure environment. They're trying to do it the same way they did the CCOP.
Okay.
With the CCOP, our members could only go into, like I said, it and look at the cases. They're trying to duplicate that, and they said that they will be working on that. And hopefully, I'm hoping by next week that they will finish working on that. But, in the meantime, I'm just gonna drop an N18 folder that will say test environment. And it will be very sanitized information. It will look just like a regular case, but it won't have any identifying information.
Yeah, that's the thing, coming from so many different agencies, the way that they do their reporting of those cases is just all over the place. And so I think when we have the opportunity to look at a few and then start to look at more and more, we can then come up with how we want those cases to, like, what we need to see to make it a lot easier, because it's a lot of reading. If you just take one case from one, won't even say one jurisdiction and look at another one, it'll just be completely different, and there'll be more, and sometimes it'll be less. So we need to develop something where it can be more concise for us, so we won't be all over the place, because it's a little crazy.
So that's what I've been trying to do with these cases, is trying to get something common, so that when I give them to you, everything looks consistently the same.
Right.
The documents may be named differently, but I'm trying to rename stuff so that every document, like if it's a case summary or a report of investigation, that we don't have to look at every single document, open it, and try to find out what that summary is. Just rename the document that says case summary. Rename the document that says case complaint. The documents that come from ACC, that's the work that they produce, I can tell what that is. But it's the jurisdictions, it's kind of all over the place.
It really is.
And we just can't, I don't think you all can just depend on solely looking at the ACC summary. Because basically that's a summary of a summary that the investigator did of a summary of what he did to somebody else. So I'm trying to give you the complaint, trying to give you the report of investigations from the, police department,
Right.
plus the ACC and the data, so that you can see what the complainant said, what the police department did, and what the ACC did. And not just have one set of documents to look at.
So Denise, and I guess we can ask Mr. Bennett, can there be like a standard way to submit them, or?
I did ask him if we could do that, and he was pretty much said that, we couldn't dictate to the jurisdiction
Understood.
how they do this.
Understood, okay.
So that's why we're taking the time to go through them and try to standardize what we can, because they come in all different kinds of forms and formats, and the only standard documents you're gonna get are the ones that come from the ACC, because they always do theirs the same way. There's 3 documents. There's 2 documents. There's the executive summary, and then there's the findings, determination, and I believe it says disposition document. But again, those documents are a summary of the summary that the investigator summarized from what he did. So which is why I'm going all the way back to the original document, trying to give you everything original from there going forward, so you can have everything that the ACC had when it made its decision.
Okay. Yeah, it's real confusing, even for those of us that sit on the ACC sometimes to even do that. Luckily, we do have the executive summary, but we read every single document and every single line. And a lot of the interviews are just all over the place, so you just don't know when you start looking at it. So, once we get those cases, we have access to it. I think it'd be good to come back together to discuss, how we can do that. And I know Mr. Melton and I was just talking about, even like the categories. If we start, I don't know if we can do like jurisdictions, like, this police department, we can just have them like that, so we will know, understand the process.
Well, I've developed in the meantime, before we can get this database from a professional, I developed an access database. We're gonna start using to enter all this information in, and we can, it's real simple, we can report by certain fields, we can put in the law enforcement agency, we can put in the officer, what, the allegation was, what the
Okay.
discipline is was for that officer, the date that it came in, the date, you know, the different dates along the way, so we can pull some basic information. It's not that interactive, but at this level, we can do some basic reporting and going back into the database and finding.
Now, will that be on the first test 5 that you drop? Will it be ready then with those?
Those test files can go into this
Right.
into this database, so I can put the database in, this environment as well, but the database was basically for us to intake.
Oh, okay,
To intake all this information.
Okay.
And have somewhere to store it and easily report it.
okay.
It's a lot.
Oh, I know.
It's a lot.
It really is.
I guess what I can do for the people that are sitting here is to show you what some of the.
Are there different cases?
They're different
Yeah,
cases.
good, so we can
They're
have some
different
of those
cases.
around. You can look at.
I don't think I don't have 3 of them with me. That's all I have.
You can keep that one. Okay. This one's
So one case.
Yeah.
Don't say
No.
please don't say any names
Yeah, we can't
or
read
any
this out loud.
information from these cases.
Yeah. Can you hand that to Dr.
This
Coe?
is just to show you what a case file,
Mr. Melton?
and basically this is what is coming from the ACC. The entire file comes pretty much like this, and this is just a smaller file.
From the ACC, right?
From the ACC,
Oh,
what they give us, there are a lot of files in there.
Yeah.
And I have to go through all these files and try to determine what you need and
Yeah.
what, what's viable for you and what's not. And I can't tell by the names because every, the nomenclature for all these districts are different.
Yep. Yeah.
Denise, we'll get the videos with these too? You get the videos, you get the audios, get it all.
Yeah.
Okay. But what you'll originally get from me will be 7 basic sets of documents, and then you can tell me whether or not you want
Okay.
something else. We're not gonna dump all that stuff on you. We're gonna give you the report of investigations, we're gonna give you the original complaint documents, be it 1 or 2, whatever the complainant submitted, we're gonna give you the report of investigation. We're gonna give you the 2 documents that come from the ACC, and if there are any written, testimony, we'll give you that. And once you've looked at that, and we'll give you a list of the files. The list of the files will look a lot like, and I know it's too small for you guys to see, but this is gonna be a screenshot
Okay.
of the file content. And once you look at the case and you say, well, I would like to see the call, listen to the call, then I can pull that and then drop it in a folder for you. But I won't put all this in the folder originally.
Okay. So they will have it set up so that we can listen to that as long as we go through the VPN when we're at home?
Yes, mhm.
Okay. And the videos as well too?
Mhm.
And then they're gonna make sure that, I know previously they had it so that we were not able to print out the document.
You can't print it, you can only view, you
Right.
can't share, you can't download, you can't even share your screen, like if you're in a meeting,
Right.
you can't even share the screen, it is view only.
Right, and so we need to make sure that when we are at home looking at this data, that there's no one else around us, to view this information. I know they were very strict about that before. So it would be great if we ever look at it, just to make sure that there's no one else around us, because this is personal information.
So you wanna make sure that everybody got the VP, this computer.
Yeah,
We can only get it on this computer.
Correct.
yeah.
That's right.
Can I have those cases back?
Oh,
please?
okay, heck on.
Yeah, 'cause it's a big difference the way it used to be. We had to
Thank
do
you.
them in the office. Couldn't even take it out 'cause we didn't have computers. Right.
They did give us
So they
some.
gave us we had the written file.
Yeah,
We didn't have computers. It was COVID is when we got,
computer.
right, we got
Well,
computers.
October 2020, I remember.
Yeah, before that you had the big files.
Yeah, so we're doing, we moved up. We moved up, we're leading, yes, ma'am. Okay, yes, ma'am, go for it.
Denise, will we get the administrative closure, or we won't?
Well, I wanna say said yes initially, because there were some cases that came through from July until maybe
Mhm.
when you all came, when the ACC got started, that the departments may have already
Right.
closed the cases out. The
Okay.
ACC would have just looked at it
Right.
and agreed with
The finding.
the findings, and those would be considered, for our intent purposes, administrative closure.
And
Okay.
it'll be good too, because then we can still capture that data.
Well, that's what I was,
Yeah.
yeah,
Capture that, yeah. So
Okay.
I think they will be coming over.
okay.
Those cases were they were very brief, so
Yeah,
those were, yeah,
yeah.
they're very difficult, so.
Well, I'm finally learning, as I look more and more at these cases, I'm finally learning what is there and what isn't there.
Right.
It's gonna be a while before we really know what to ask for or what to look for in these documents. Now,
Yeah.
they say we're supposed to be looking for trends, but the legislation says that we are supposed to, review these cases, review the disciplinary process. The only disciplinary process we have is this process. You see the trends because it went through the disciplinary process. So for me, the review of the disciplinary process comes from when the complaint comes in until we get it, and everything in between, including the work of the ACC. Whether the file is complete, the investigation is thorough, and the decisions are consistent and appropriate across the board. So we're just not looking at how many uses of force happen in the county. We're looking at the disciplinary process and how that's being administered all the way through. And in that disciplinary process, you will begin to see some trends because those cases have come to you. You'll begin to identify some trends in terms of, where the uses of force are occurring, what kind of discipline is being administered, and is that discipline consistent across the board? Like, I'll just give you an example. There's one case I've looked at that has, I don't know if I should say this
Probably not.
on camera or not.
Probably not.
I don't have to give
No.
any names, but there is a case I want to share with the chair, that the discipline seems to be different,
Right.
Than others I looked at.
Okay, we'll discuss that, outside of, well, if we have to go into closed session and do that, I would like for the board to hear that as well, so do that another day, but, and I was looking at it from the ACC side, I knew that, even when we're in the ACC, there are things that we want the Police Accountability Board, us to recommend. So we may send over a letter, say, hey, you guys need to take a look at this, well, what do you think? Because there's some trends that we're starting to see now, and we suggested that we need to get this to the PAB to take a look at it and see what they think. So we will start sending, some cases over with some letters from the ACC as well, for you guys to give us some feedback.
But it takes many eyes
Yeah.
to look at this.
We have-
I may see something that they don't see when they get it. It's not that we're looking for problems, it's just that it's more than one set of eyes looking at the same thing.
Any questions on that process? It's really, can't have any until we start to view them, but, it would be good to kind of maybe look at some other cases, go online and kind of see, and then maybe develop a template or something that we want to see. But it's really difficult, even for us, so, once we get those cases, I guess we can revisit that and have a conversation about how we would like that to look. Thank you, Denise. Anybody have any questions on that? This is what happens when it gets to being close to 8:30, everybody gets quiet. So let's say it's 9.
I do have a question going back a little bit. You mentioned
sir.
community engagement. You talked about the coffee with PAB, but is there a plan for, I was gonna say, community engagement?
Yes, sir, I said that we're going to talk about the community engagement, and I said that we were going to develop a presentation to present to the community when we do meet with them. So I asked that everybody, when we start that process, that everybody has some input. We'll develop some slides in the presentation to present, maybe take a few questions, but we'll draft how that community engagement looks, because I think it should be different than when we interact with the police chiefs. One of the things that I thought about is that I don't want the public to think that that's just an opportunity for us to just, to them to dump on us. We wanna stay kinda apolitical. We don't wanna be heavy on one side or the other, but we wanna make sure that we have start the meeting off with giving them, this is the process. So we're gonna all put that together and have input on that.
Mr. Chair, if it's okay, I also want to add, if you recall, in the strategic plan, there's a section all on community outreach, community engagement. So that will also be
Coming up, right?
discussed in the strategic plan.
Yes, okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Understood. Appreciate that. I just hope that we can put in some concrete dates like we did for this June 14th, so that the community has something to look towards as their opportunity as well.
Yep, we're gonna work on that. Yes, sir, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I just wanted to say, one of the reasons we're doing this is because I know we have the outreach plan coming, but there's a big gap between when we get that plan implemented, and we thought we need to do something, so there is another voice other than everybody else talking about what the PAB does, or what, you know, what the PAB intends to do in terms of, maybe the police chief. So we just thought we'd do this coffee chat periodically until you all get your real outreach plans off the ground. We can at least start here, and then the police chiefs can hear from the PAB and not from the gossip and the public about what's going on.
And as I look at the plan, we are almost at the end of goal 3. Goal 4 is inform the public about policing matters and promote transparency. So that community outreach is the next one we're about to start in the outline.
Perfect. Thank you. Anyone else?
I did one more thing, Mr. Chair, if you would remind the committee that they got an extension on their rules
You can
of
remind them.
procedure. You got an extension on the rules of procedure,
Oh,
and,
yes.
and what date is that?
The 19th.
19th,
Okay, yeah,
to
that's
have
right.
it, we know it was a lot, so.
Yeah, that's right. What day did you say, Mom?
19th,
The 19th?
that's next Friday.
Next Friday.
Okay. I think I already had that in it. Okay, thank you. That was an announcement then, I guess. right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We're gonna announce, any other announcements?
Question,
That's all.
Yes, sir.
is there an update regarding any AHB applicants and kind of what our plan is to get that pool going?
Yes, we do have, an update. It's paid on the webpage for forever, got 0 applications. We sent, Tandy, can you tell me where we sent it?
We sent the announcement to, the library, the Prince George's County Memorial Library System. They have over 229,000 subscribers. We sent it to the county council, we sent it to the county executive's office, and we sent it to the Police Chiefs Association of Prince George's County. We would also like board feedback, if there's any organization that you would like us to send it to. We can send the announcement out as well. And we did get one person submit, a letter of interest and resume today.
Today?
Just today, and
That was
we
perfect
did,
timing.
yeah, it was perfect timing, but after literally weeks on our site, we got nothing. And, at least we got one response now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know that we were definitely trying to get a pool of, I think, 10 or so. You know, we may have to do what we need to do to try to step up that marketing promotion plan. And I appreciate the efforts that have been done so far, but I guess we're gonna have to figure out some other way to generate some additional interest so that we can meet our goals.
I'd also like to add, the resume and letter of interest that we received today has been added to the Teams folder under AHB candidate pool. So if you guys wanna, we will be dropping them in by date. So if you wanna go in and start looking at them as they come in, you can do that.
We talking about the, AHB training?
No, he's talking about, do you remember the,
Oh, I thought you
call
asked
for
me.
application?
I thought you were asking me to say something else about.
No, I just said, you
Okay.
didn't have any, announcements.
No, ma'am, that was it. Just Attorney Camp. Yes, sir, Mr.
So
Lowe.
I have one, just for, the good of the group. I was invited to a community event by a sorority organization, to serve on a panel to encourage participation amongst the community and boards. So, I said that I would attend. I just wanted the group to know that even though I'll be representing the PAB, no official PAB business will be talked about or spoken about in that forum. It's just more about encouraging the the community, why did I choose to serve?
Oh, okay.
You know, I had to go through an application process and things like that. I just wanted to share that with the group.
Then maybe we can get you that announcement, so you can
Yeah,
push that announcement out,
I
yeah.
can definitely promote that among
Okay.
that group. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And thank you for that heads up too. And that's one of the things that we have to be aware of, that what it looks like, on either side of the public or anyone. One person represents the group, and so we need to be very aware of how it will look to the public. And I always say, what will the headline say before we do something? So really, Mr. Melton, thank you for that. So that'll be good, so we can have them recruit people.
But Angie's gonna send you.
Okay.
He's a recruiter now. Go, way to volunteer, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Melton. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Two things. Have we set up the, another time for her to do the, I guess, the training or whatever?
Yes, that is something that I was saying.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, good question.
Ethics training for next meeting, I asked her to come 30 minutes early.
I thought, okay, yeah,
Tell her to come 30 minutes early, she's gonna do it here
okay.
At 6 first.
at 6.
Okay.
So she's not cutting into more than 30 minutes of your meeting time.
Okay, so we'll make sure that we'll send out a reminder to be here at 6 o'clock. Okay, thank you. Anything else?
And one other thing. Now, I don't know if it's true. Did we come before the council last week? Our budget and stuff, the council committee?
Yes.
I just think in the future, we just need to, the board need to be FYI on that, you know, if we wanna attend to show our support, you know, on, for the people.
Yeah, there was a panel member there,
Who?
Mr. James.
Okay. But nobody else knew about it, though. I mean, I didn't know about it,
Okay.
I'm just saying. And, I'm just saying, the meeting before, if we would've known, some other people might've came to the meeting, I mean, even into a point of whatever the budget that we presented, so that we could know as a committee what we're trying to do, what are we trying to ask for in the next budget cycle, because I know it's a shortfall. That ain't affect us because we under the police budget, but you know what I mean? But we just need to be FYI when you go to meetings like that, so we don't,
Okay.
learn in the street that it was a meeting like that,
All right, cool.
because half of us is appointed by some of the council members. I mean, they probably
They didn't let you know?
No, they didn't let me know.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying, you should let me know.
Yeah, I was asking, did they let you know?
I'm trying to do it in a nice way there.
You always be nice.
I'm trying to, I can't always be nice, I ain't gonna give you that.
Well, just make sure you can take it as long as you can do it.
Because I can take it.
All right.
We
Professional
ain't
about
here
it,
for
though.
no reason.
Just be professional.
That's why I said it like I said it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Write that down. So, and even with that note, we also make sure that we also, exercise the quorum. I had a conversation with the IG, and, whenever we get out of order, we will now start to go off camera until we come back into order. I got some feedback from a couple of, community members a couple of weeks ago, who have been watching the meetings, and they're starting to have the faith back. Sometimes we had to rebrand ourselves. And so I can honestly say that it's the ship is starting to right now. So I just wanna thank everyone for working together, making it a cohesive thing. One thing we will do is be professional to one another and respect one another. So whoever is talking, I've said it before, whoever has the floor, at that time, it would be good that everybody else is quiet so everybody can hear the other people talking. And remember that we are on camera and we represent the citizens of Prince George's County. And if we are the best, then we need to have the best behavior and the best everything that we have. So, Mr. Vice Chair, do you have anything?
Nope, I'm good.
Admin, staff, I'm sorry, do you have anything? Attorney Camp, do you have anything?
No, sir.
So, is there a motion to adjourn? You got it. No, I didn't make the motion.
Oh, I thought you did.
I would-
Okay.
You making that motion?
Yeah,
Okay.
I make a motion.
Marsha really made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
That's
You
quick.
sure? You wanna think about it? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? You opposed?
Y'all
Meeting,
didn't want to discuss it a little bit?
meeting adjourned at 8:58. Thank you.